Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to kick off. We've got a few people kind of dripping in, so yeah, but we'll get started with who's here, and hello to everyone that's watching this in the recording afterwards. So I would love to get started with the presentation. First, I'm going to sort of share my screen, and we'll get stuck in. Alrighty. So just to give you a bit of a quick introduction. So what we're going to talk about today to like really give you as much value as possible in a short space of time is we'll do a bit of an intro between Kurt and myself. We're going to get deep into niche identification and why that's so important. And then we're going to talk about how to dominate in your niche. We're going to look at how to kind of position yourself in that blue ocean. And then we're going to talk a bit about, stop with the guesswork and start with the growth, and then finish up with giving you an example of a joint client that we work on. So just a little reminder, if you could keep your microphones on mute, because we will have time for questions at the end. But if you can put your camera on, that would be great, because it's always good to sort of see the faces. So just to give you an introduction, today we are going to be speaking with myself. I am Helena, I'm co-founder of the Arrow Agency, and we sort of help builders grow through no fluff digital, and we specialize in lead generation. Kurt, I'm going to attempt to say his name, Heget Swiler. Is that right, Kurt?
That's that's a pass.
Yes. So as probably most people will know, Kurt is the founder of The Builder's Coach and also co-author of Would You Like Profits With That? So he's really known in the industry as the millionaire maker, and he's been helping Australian builders for many years grow through profitable, practical strategies. So he's here to provide a lot of value today. We're very excited.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Helena.
Yeah, perfect. And I think the first slide to sort of kick off with, which is niche identification, that's over to you, Kurt, because I know this is your area of expertise. So how do people, identify that sort of, niche in which to kind of really focus in on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like we all about for people, if there's anyone listening that doesn't know Builder's Coach. And by the way, that book, Would You Like Profits With That? That's one of my first books. I do have a new book, which is, I don't know if you can see that,
You got your blur on.
Million Dollar Builder 2.0. And anyone on the call, including people listening to the recording, can get a free copy if you stay to the end. I think there'll be a QR code where you can access it, because we can only cover so much content on this webinar, and this book is a great resource. It's more than 40 templates, tools, checklists, and a lot of great content, which we'll be covering off and unpacking on this webinar. But make no mistake, what I do with builders is help them make more money, and probably the most important decision a builder can make is defining their niche, which is really market positioning. It's how you position yourself in the market. And to answer your question, like how do you decide, what your niche or area of specialty is going to be, and really it should, relate to margin. We're all about chasing the margin, then the revenue. So ideally, you want to position yourself in a niche or a specialty where, it lends itself to more margin. And if you go to first principles, of wealth creation, it's all about adding value. So there's certain niches that are more profitable than others, and there's yeah, green technology is a good example. Passive house, heritage homes, luxury custom homes. Those are good examples where you're targeting a more affluent market. So people that are more focused on, the product and the outcome of the build more so than budget. You don't want to be targeting a market where there's not a lot of money. So that also ensures that the business is sustainable. So people with money will always have money. In a downturn, people short the market. So ideally, target the type of work in the suburbs in your location, wherever you are, with a demographic that has more money. And then once you've decided on that, look, ideally, if you can find a niche, again, with an affluent market, and in a space, uh, where that you actually enjoy the work as well. Like if you are genuinely passionate about green technology, green homes, high performance homes, passive house, and you believe in it, then that's really X factor right there. But the next thing, once you've decided, is layering. So niche layering, what is that? Well, quite simply, it could be, and here's a real life example, like heritage homes, for example, or maybe a genre of homes like Hampton style homes, Hampton beach style homes, and then incorporating green technology and smart technology in there as well. So those are like three layers that can essentially, well, one, make you more relevant to that market. So someone that's looking for a heritage home with green technology, with smart technology, you'll be highly relevant to that market. So it gives you market penetration. And then it gives you the opportunity to add more value because there's so much you can talk about in that space. And you can handpick your team, your trade base, your suppliers to cater specifically to that market. So you're becoming a specialist. It's like being a specialist cardiologist versus a GP. And all the specialists out there make more money, you know. They offer more value and when they invoice, you expect it to be more expensive than a generalist. So that's why it really is, one of the most important decisions a builder can make. And most guys don't do it. Sadly, most people are trying to be all things to all people, cast a wide net, but they'll always be in diapers if they do that. They're never really going to dig a deep groove and build, any meaningful expertise.
Yeah, and I think like one thing that we kind of come up against a lot as well is because we're kind of big on with from a marketing angle, which I'll kind of get into next, is obviously niching is really important. But one thing that I get a lot from builders is a bit of kind of worry, I guess, around that, because then they don't want to pigeonhole themselves into a particular sort of only doing one type of building work. So um, explain to me a little bit how it really kind of can impact, yeah, your margins and and give you that kind of empowerment to sort of say no to the wrong type of work almost.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, but it's interesting because it's like it's an immediate, intuitive sort of thought to have. Like if I only do heritage homes, or if I only do passive house, then I'm ignoring all the rest of the market. So
Mm,
surely, then I'm really pigeonholing myself. I'm not going to make, what if I don't get enough work in that specialty? But, most people aren't thinking beyond that, which is, I always say to someone if they just starting out or they haven't got a niche, so they're just a me too builder, no job too big, too small, and they're interested in a particular niche, all you're doing is setting up an arm of marketing for that niche. So
mm,
if you want to do high performance homes and you set up your marketing to target that specific area,
yeah,
then if someone contacts you to do a commercial fit out or some renovation that's unrelated to that niche, you can still take on that work while
yeah,
you're establishing yourself to pay the bills, right? Like it
yeah,
doesn't mean that you go all in from day one.
yeah.
That's almost like suicide, right? So they're just not thinking beyond, how to sort of structure it. But look around you on this planet that we live on. Every successful business out there specializes in something. I mean, it's like you guys as well. You can add more value to builders because you've worked with lots of builders in marketing, and same as me. Like if you
Yeah,
think of the best, there's a lot of amazing coaches out there, and probably like if you look at um, Tony Robbins, for example, right? Like one of the best coaches. He's a life coach, but he also does, financial coaching. I will kick his ass every day of the week when it comes to coaching a builder because I've got a warehouse of tools. Like I can work with, we got clients all over Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, the UK. I can pull out specific documentation for a builder in a certain area, like a prelim agreement or whatever it is, that is highly relevant to them. I know the margins builders are using, so it can,
Hmm.
the value I can add is significantly more because I'm a specialist. And it's the same for a builder that specializes in a particular genre or type of build, right? Like they just understand um, every phase, the pre-construction phase all the way through. So again, they can deliver more value and charge more. Okay, so don't lose sight of the primary objective, which is to be profitable. And there's no
Yeah.
shame in making decent money. In fact, you have a duty of care to be financially sound as a builder. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of leads nicely into my next slide. So I'll just jump back in here. I will jump in and out of sharing because I hate to just have, the one screen open the whole time.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was where we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about niche domination. So as Kurt mentioned, you from a sort of marketing and targeting perspective, it is most beneficial to be sort of talking to one particular type of niche with your sort of messaging and creative and sort of platforms that you choose, etc. However, that doesn't necessarily mean, like Kurt said, you need to sort of eliminate all of the work initially, but it is favorable if you can begin your marketing or, change up your marketing to be really kind of niche specific, because it's just going to really enable you to be talking to the best quality leads for you, creating demand in that space, specialization, and that obviously leads to sort of an increase in margins and things like that down the line. So what I wanted to kind of go through quickly with regards to how to dominate that niche was to kind of give some sort of step-by-steps of things that, will really help you sort of identify that and then kind of work that through. So the first thing, which you've probably all already heard of before, is the ideal client. Now, when you think about this, there's obviously sometimes people think about this in quite a demographic way, which is, age, sex, location. But when it comes into the digital space and the capabilities around targeting that we have these days in this Big Brother world, you can actually start to really look at people's psychographics. And I sort of always tend to see more trends between, psychographics and demographics. Someone that is looking for a passive house, they might all be going to yoga, for example. So then you can, be more topical in your targeting around that. Um, with regards to identifying that one ideal client, it's just kind of comes back to like it's impossible to market yourself to everyone. So you need to be marketing to someone. And that's why it's so important. And that's why, it has to be done as part of, a marketing strategy. Again, talking about the real people, not the demographics, but your marketing is just going to work better when your ideal client feels like you're speaking directly to them. So we do actually have like a ChatGPT prompt that we can share with you guys today. Pretty much it's like a questionnaire of things that you should be asking, clients that you've like loved working with that are an ideal client. And then you take that information, you can put that into a ChatGPT prompt and it will spit out this beautiful ideal client persona profile for you to sort of get you started on that journey if you don't already have that. The next
Yeah,
thing,
hey, if I could jump in there, Helena,
yeah,
sorry.
definitely.
Yeah, the ideal client persona is key. So, identifying your niche or area of specialty, the type of builds you want to do is one thing. That's the job type. And again, you want to ideally, chase the margin, find a niche where there is a market. And just quickly on that,
Mhm,
um, you mentioned AI and ChatGPT. Just a quick example. So we had a builder who specializes in heritage homes, and he's based in Melbourne, and we had a live event here in Manly not long ago where a couple from Canberra heard this guy's story and his niche, and they were like, "That's what we want to do in Canberra." But their concern was, is there enough of a market in Canberra
mhm.
for heritage homes? So we jumped on chat, and
Yep.
I actually use GenSpark. It's great for data for checking the data, and it was able to tell us exactly how many heritage home applications go through the ACT, because there's a separate application that they go through, and it's 150 a year. And then based on that, it was able to extrapolate that there's around 60 or 80 heritage home builds and target, and it tells us exactly what suburbs as well. And this
Okay.
couple only needed to do three of those builds a year, so the market was there. So that was one thing just to add to, some of the research you can do once you've identified a market or a niche that you're interested in. In terms of so that's the thing. Then you got the client, the ideal client. So really, marketing
Mm,
at its core is about communication. All you're doing is you're communicating with another human being, right? So if you can
yeah.
understand what type of person that is and create like an avatar or an ideal client persona around that person, and chat's amazing for that. You can feed
Yeah.
in some information, and then you can create content like videos, social media posts, PDF, educational pieces using education-based marketing that speaks directly to that ideal client persona. And that is extremely powerful because when they read that, it's like it
Mhm.
was written exclusively for them. They're going to feel more understood than they ever have before, and you're going to
Yeah.
engage and lock them in. Yeah. So it's a combination of those two things. And you can see how once you get this right, the job type, the client type, and the persona, everything flows from there. All your
Yeah.
marketing content, how you communicate with them. You understand their emotional hot buttons, their
Yeah.
fears,
And
desires,
that,
and aspirations. Yeah.
yeah, and that kind of leads into like the second step of that, which is to, clarify what their problems are. So you can start to understand, like, okay, so what are this person worried about? Like, how can I solve their problem best? And that's again talking back into
Mhm.
speaking, directly with them. So, rather than saying, we build homes or something like that, it's like, busy professionals that want a stress-free renovation experience. You're really talking to who that person is.
Absolutely, man. I mean, talk about problems. Like there are so many freaking problems in this industry, which makes it easy. Like for any builder who's prepared to do the work on business and personal leadership development is going to be able to, stand out quite quickly, which is what you want to do in business. In order for you to make
Yeah.
money, in order for you to get any meaningful results, you need to differentiate. So this is what the niching does. It differentiates you
Yeah.
from the other builders in your area. But if you don't do that, if you look the same as the other guys that are quoting on a job, and we'll get to eliminating the tender process and not having to quote against other builders in a sec. But if you look the same, then what's the differentiator? How do people differentiate between the three builders who quoted? Well, it's the number. They look at they'll probably
Price. Yeah.
get rid of the most expensive and the cheapest and pick the middle one or something like that. That's their process.
Yeah.
So you want to break away from that. That's
Yeah.
that's a that's a terrible way to differentiate yourself is on price. You never ever want to
Mm.
compete on price, and then that leads to a race to the bottom when market conditions change. So all of
Mm.
this, gives you more margin, but also makes your business more sustainable. You
Yeah.
take control, you create your own economy. So regardless of macroeconomic conditions and whatever freaking Trump says or does, it's not going to impact your lead flow, workflow, cash flow, profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't need to be anything complicated or, anything crazy. I always say to people, it just needs to be consistent. So if you pick that pain point, like what problem are you solving for them? And and then just repeat that everywhere,
Mm.
so that it's just this consistent message and you're sort of repeating on that all the time. So yeah, that's a really kind of powerful thing to do. And then sort of kind of following on from that is also in a marketing sense, when you're sort of communicating um, to potential clients about your business and what you do, one thing that we find it works really well is to be communicating the benefits to them, not so much the features. So I've got an example here. You could be saying we build architecturally designed homes with arch windows. This is what we do. If you split that into we build low maintenance home that stay cool in the summer and reduce your power bills, you'll kind of positioning that more on kind of what you're doing for them, what the end result is, rather than the feature of that. And we find that sort of has a much more emotive connection to potential clients in a marketing sense as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So, oh, you go.
No, no, I was just saying, yeah, no, spot on. Like it's at the end of the day, again, it's about relevance, right? It's being as relevant as humanly
Mm,
possible to a select group of people. And yeah, that with again, if you're layering, you can really go
mm,
out into a blue ocean where there's no competitors. If you've got three layers like that, there's probably no other builder that's
mm.
offering that specific solution, which is what you are as a builder. You're a solution provider. You're not trying to sell anything. You just offer a certain solution and then
Yeah, I love
you
that.
marry that up with the people out there, and then you establish if they're a fit for what you do and create, with intelligent marketing systems, both online and offline, you create more demand for what you do than you can deliver, which is counterintuitive, but and then you just have a deselection process or a onboarding process for clients. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that can be really kind of handy way to kind of approach this is to kind of write down your top three features and then sort of turn them into what the benefit of that is. So, like one
Yeah.
example would be, we manage your entire design process so you can, get on with, picking what furniture you want to put in. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. But I'm just ad-libbing here, but really kind of talking to the solution, what the end result is for them, which is what they're buying into.
Yeah, that's it. And then, so obviously, like if you've got a good market and you understand your ideal client persona, you can talk directly to them in terms of what you can help them with. But beyond that, most builders don't recognize, because you talk about problems in the industry, most builders don't realize that one of probably the most powerful ways to layer is through, the client experience and
Mm,
proactive communication. No one does that. There's no builder. Maybe there's if you're listening and you are doing this, congratulations. But if you've got a process for proactively communicating with your clients, that is a unbelievable point of difference. Like
yeah,
I can tell you examples where, builders use female project managers to communicate with clients, on every aspect of the job proactively, and then they have guys just running the jobs or crew, just head down, arse up, getting the work done. That is a point of difference which really, the people that see the most value in that are the affluent, busy people who are
yeah,
successful. The time is their most valuable resource. It is all of our most valuable resource. It's the only non-renewable resource. So if you can help them with that, people will
yeah,
pay a premium, myself
yeah.
included, for someone that, structures things in a way that allows you to turn your back and gives you certainty and confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of what we do with our builders is kind of those initial stages of that sales process. The reason being because those first impressions really count.
Mhm.
Just having like a text or an email or something that goes out automated quickly just to acknowledge a response to an inquiry can make so much difference in how that initial perception of your business and how then they'll kind of think, oh, well, they obviously um, have got a good process in place for that. So it must kind of, continue on throughout everything else. So just those little details can, yeah, make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sales process is crucial. It's that first impression. And yeah, it's where you demonstrate, a level of competence and build credibility and trust. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Another one of my points on this kind of, how to dominate the niche then kind of follows on to don't just show, like tell. So tell people, use stories, testimonials, like bring visuals into the niche. So content obviously is huge in the building industry. And yeah, how do you find with your clients, Kurt, that sort of plays into their strategies?
It's off the chart in terms of its importance. Most builders are completely unaware of the opportunity they have with content, right? Like if you look at marketing, there's offline and online, like I mentioned before. So your offline is your site signs, vehicle signage, banners, neighbor letters, flyers, brochures. And then online is obviously your website, the cornerstone of your online marketing. You need a quality website, ideally with an opt-in, we call it lead magnet, or educational piece that people can download, and that builds a database, and that's a client bank. But your social media as well. But and then your offline marketing drives people online. People walk past the site, they see vehicles, take a photo, they go to your website. And then yes, you want content on there. Again, you want to capture details, build up a list, and then with your socials, you get followers, right?
Mm.
That'll want to see what you do. So having a consistent pulse of quality content is absolutely crucial. And like this is where, and I'll point to some builders that know this, but anyone listening, just think of the most successful builders you know. Go to their Instagram page. They've got big followings. They look at their content, right? Like if you're trying to sell
Mm.
chairs or furniture, there's only so much content you can create around that, right? Like the number one obsession on the planet, right, is real estate in every single country, right? People love property. They want to build their dream home, their forever home. They like investment properties, flipping
Oh, I love a good
houses.
floor plan.
There's an insatiable appetite for any
Yeah.
content related to property and building, right? That's why, I mean, years ago, I went to the US and there was a list of the top 40 reality TV shows around building. Like here in Australia,
Yeah.
there's The Block, and people cannot get enough. You literally, in this article that I read, that you cannot create enough content
Yeah.
around this sort of thing. So most builders don't realize how lucky they are to be in a space where you've got these people just hanging out, starving for content. So
Hmm.
if you can create quality content, and now within that, the number one medium for content or communication in marketing is video, right? Well,
Yeah.
there's a couple of builders that have purchased media companies, and they get more views on YouTube and through their Insta channels. And some of these guys, anyone listening will probably know of a few,
Hmm.
than most TV shows, right? So yeah, just recognizing that's the reality of the market that you're in, and then getting out of your own way. Because some people are like, oh, I'm not going to create videos. You don't have to be in front of the camera if you don't want to. I know some people are, they cringe when they think of influencers. I'm not talking about becoming an influencer. I'm talking about just showcasing the work that you do. If you get in front of the camera, great. If you can express your personality and you're comfortable,
Yeah.
that's awesome, because people love authenticity. If you that whole cliche, just be yourself. But that would be, we all about optimization. So best practice, optimization, peak performance. Marketing optimization is really, having a consistent pulse of real quality content in a layered niche that speaks
Mm.
directly to a certain, client
Fine.
persona, and
Yeah.
engages them. And then beyond that, it's we'll get into value management, right? And just a one builder tender process, which is that's the outcome objective, is no longer having to tender against other builders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And one thing I was just going to mention quickly, that we're sort of seeing that's trending in terms of content at the moment for some reason is just like a really basic walkthrough of a home once it's been furnished. So kind of a bit lived in, which is a tricky bit of content to get because once you kind of hand over and obviously, but yeah, for some reason at the moment people are just loving it, and it's nothing professional. You could probably do it on your phone, but they just love having a bit of a nosy, I think, inside. So we're seeing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People absolutely love it. Like I had a renovations business here in Sydney, and we had this process where we'd start a job in an area like a nice suburb like Hunters Hill, and then we'd have our direct response banners go up. So we're renovations extensions, thinking of renovating, Sydney's
Hmm.
renovation extension specialist, call now for your free project assessment. And then we had a brochure, capability statement. We'd hand out 50 of those to the closest 50 homes with a cover letter, and then 2,000 flyers. And all that cost $700. And we had a printer that would print the letters, the brochures, the flyers. And then there was the person that distributed them would go pick them up. So we just sent an email, this address, 1 week after we start the job. And the cover letters, we would point to a sorry, someone's just come into my house. We would say to the neighbors, hey, we're working at Joe Blow's house. If the client was comfortable letting us name drop because he knows his neighbors, we're going to be working on, this renovation, and we're going to be photographing and videoing the job as we go. If you want to, if you want to see and follow along, you can, and then we'll point to the social media page.
Yeah.
Or if you or anyone you know is thinking about doing some work, pop in and say hi, or give us a call. And we
Yeah.
would get, so we tested that. We'd get 25 to 30 new followers on our socials every time we did that brochure flyer drop, and at least three quality inquiries. Like anyone listening, they've done a job on a street and they get another job on that street. The
Yeah.
record, I think, 7 or 8 jobs on one street with our clients. So that happens organically, all right, because people
Yeah.
naturally is a
100%.
transfer of trust. But if you reach out with a simple marketing strategy like that,
Yeah.
and people, you're right, they want to have a sticky beak. The neighbors are like, oh, I don't know
Oh,
what's
what's going
happening
on?
inside the house. They can't help themselves, right? So
And
there's some
that
simple things you can do. Yeah.
it's so, like if you're, yeah, we call it like the 333. If you're not, if you're in working on a home in a street and you're not kind of speaking to the people, three people either side and three people in front, like that's a missed opportunity because there's definitely, and I think actually recent I had one builder that says that he actually delivers flyers to the street with please call this number if you have any problems with, any vehicles parking in the street, just kind of showing a bit of courtesy. Um,
Yes. Yeah,
but
yeah. The
angle
neighbor
of
letter,
that.
that's a good one. Yeah, because
Yeah,
because it is an inconvenience often for the neighbors because you have vehicles and trucks coming in and out. Just on that, we've got a client in Canada that has offices in Florida as well, but they just last week did a neighbor letter. So I recommended that they do exactly what I just described. They
yeah,
took it one step further. So for the two houses either side of the renovation, they gave them a $200 voucher to a local restaurant as well. And that they said, yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. We're trying to make it as less of a hassle as possible. And
yeah.
as a
Wow.
token of our appreciation for you tolerating us, here's a $200 voucher to this restaurant. I thought that was brilliant because
Oh yeah.
who wouldn't want to receive that? Like I'd be really impressed. You know what I
I tell
mean?
you what, if I was building in the future, though, I'd remember that.
Absolutely. And then I was explaining that to another guy, one of our builders, I think it was in Canberra, and he was like, I'm going to do that with Bunnings gift cards. So instead of
Oh
200
yeah,
bucks, he's going to go like 10 closest homes with a $50 Bunnings gift voucher with the same it's just it's great. Like you can play around with it and it's low cost using pre-tax money and people will
yeah.
absolutely love it.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And just those little things, yeah, can make all the difference. Um, and kind of like tying it back into the niche again, obviously all of that sort of kind of, tied in as well with your kind of your niche, it's just so powerful. So the closing kind of line on this slide is just to really think like a specialist and not generalist.
Absolutely. And then align with others. Like the number one marketing strategy, by the way, is networking with designers and architects. And then you can yeah, you can find those specialists in your space as well.
Mm,
So all of that just, a client's again, it's adding value, right? The
yeah,
client's like, wow, you've got everything we need for what we're looking to achieve, right? Why would they go anywhere else?
yeah, exactly. So I'm going to share my screen again quickly to dive in to make sure that we've covered everything that we said we were going to, which I think we did. Um, so this is your favorite topic, I know, Kurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk to us a little bit about, you did mention on it before the blue ocean, but yeah, let's talk a bit about how we can really achieve that.
Yeah, well, it's just like you want to, like I heard Joe Rogan say, like if you want to be successful, like just work, you've got to do the work, right? There's no escaping doing the work, but you want to be absolutely, and I was going to use an expletive, but I won't, out of respect. Yeah. Be relentless in being undeniable. Like once you've decided on your specialty, just keep just looking for ways to improve. Just become the best that
Mm.
you can. But again, layering accelerates puts you out in that blue ocean. The blue ocean is you sailing away from the bloody waters of all the price competition, which sadly a lot of builders and some listening, you just think that that's just the way it is. So everyone's just going to compete on price, and I've just got to check my price, and maybe I'm desperate for work. I don't have much in the pipeline, so I'll just maybe tweak my numbers and bring my price down so I can win this job. I hear it all the time, man. It's BS. Don't do it. Like, if you have to do it because you're desperate, as a one-off just to get ahead while you're building these processes and your marketing system and locking in on, your layered niche, then yes, I understand. But really, just go, don't. The thing that pisses me off, Helena, is people following the masses, right? This
Yeah.
really gets the blood rushing to my head.
Mm.
We've all heard the stats. It's around, 80% of businesses don't make it through 5 years. The 20% that do make it through five, 80% of them don't make it through the next five. And in construction, it's worse. Like I heard recently, 26% of all insolvencies across all industries are construction related. That's builders, right? And we make up a small percentage. There's not that many builders out there relative to business owners in other industries. So really, why are most guys following the 80%? Like you see intelligent
Yeah.
people following the 80%. Like don't follow the freaking morons off a cliff. Like if you wanted to be good at, a certain sport, like you would look at what elite athletes do. Like how do they train? How do they eat? What are
Yeah.
they doing? So don't go to an HR MBA meeting and look at what 80% of guys are doing. Seek
Yeah.
out the guys in the top 3%. Look at what they're doing. And I guarantee you, they've
Yeah.
found a niche. They've got quality marketing. They've got a well-defined sales process that everyone goes through consistently. And their margins are a minimum 25%. Like they understand their
Mm.
numbers. They've got cost tracking. They are working on their leadership, improving themselves to build a quality team. They've got job descriptions, KPIs, a recruitment process.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing work all the time to improve their business and themselves. So you need to
Yeah.
do that. And the hallmark of leadership is decision making. You've got to make a decision that you want
Yeah.
to raise the bar, add more value, decide on a niche,
Yeah.
and then go after it and then become undeniable. And yeah,
And
you do
yeah,
that consistently well, you'll end up in a blue ocean. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And that whole, thing is not even exclusive to the construction industry. Like you kind of mentioned before, obviously our niche is builders and it was a big, we've been working in this industry for a long time, but it was there was a point before when we were working with other types of businesses and
Mm,
we sort of identified that the builders that we were working with were getting really good results. They were actually great people to work with. Like we enjoyed partnering with that type of business. And then
yeah.
it just got to a point and we took the leap and it was the best thing that we ever did. As well, because we've been able to just grow at a much quicker rate and offer a lot more value. Um, so yeah, it kind of, transacts into different industries as well, which is it's such a powerful thing. And being able to say no to business, knowing it's not right for you to work with. Because
Yeah,
if
look, if anyone who's listening to this, like you obviously on this call or listening to it because you care about improving your business. So you're in that top 10% already, just by virtue of the fact that you're seeking out ways to improve what you do. And because the standards are so low, and most builders are, and it's not because I don't want to beat builders up, and that's not because they're bad people, but because the standards are so low, and most guys aren't adopting technology and systems and best practice. If you do it, you can move the needle quickly. That's the benefit of, versus some white collar industries where everyone is switched on and savvy and using AI and you in a race where everyone is adopting best practice. As a
Mhm.
builder, if you just do the work, if you're just prepared to do the work, you can get phenomenal results. Like we get guys that most builders that come to us now want to get into our illustrious seven-figure club. Hence the name of the book, $1 million builder. It's because we get guys netting $1 million, after all expenses, including wages to self, within 3 years. And we've had at least four do that from a standing start. So they come to us, they're doing less than $500,000 a year, them and an apprentice. And 3 years later, they're in the seven-figure club. So the opportunity's there. Again, if you're just prepared to
Do the
to
work.
do the work. And
Mm.
obviously there's a lot more to it than what we're just talking about now on this webinar, which is why I'm happy to send out the book and the resources with our sales process and all the documentation in there. But yeah, I just can't encourage people enough to do it. It's transformative. Like it'll change your life once you have control of your business and you're making consistently good money and you've got a great team and you're helping people. Like life's a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a bit about, identifying your niche, like how to dominate that niche. So the next kind
Mm.
of thing I wanted to cover is sort of like that application-based sales process, which I know that you advocate a lot, Kurt.
Mm.
And obviously, your positioning as a builder needs to be kind of in a certain way before you would adopt this type of sales process. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your thoughts around shifting from sort of selling to selecting.
Yeah, so it comes back to that concept of creating your own economy, right? So you want
Mhm.
to like if you can do 5 builds a year, 5 starts or 10 starts, you want 100 people at the front door, ready to work with you. So you need to market. Like if you're not listening, guys, if you haven't been listening, pay attention to what I'm about to say. You need to market 10 times more than what you think you do. 10 times, right? And that's as relevant to every business and not just builders. But if you do that, and again, this is counterintuitive, so the 80% are going to go, why would you do that? But if you want to if you want to be a peak performer, if you want to be in the top 3%, if you want to go in the 7-figure club, you've got to overbook the flight. You need to get more inquiry coming through than you can possibly handle. So again, the big guys go, why would I want to do that? I can't, it's just going to be too busy. You're not going to be too busy if you've got a deselection process, which is a process for politely referring on people who you can't work with or putting them in a holding pattern. But you want
Mhm.
to have more triple A grade blue chip clients. So your ideal clients in your layered niche with the ideal client persona in the right suburb, more of them than you can handle. And yes, that'll create a certain amount of pressure, but the pressure that you feel from that is going to be a hell of a lot better than the jobs that fall over. Like if your workflow is one of the number one stresses for builders. Even the guy, anyone listening who's got 12 or 18 months booked out, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, what happens after this work, when I finish this work? How do you
Yeah.
get consistent workflow? So it's one of the three Achilles heels, profit cash flow workflow. And your marketing is the solution. So you overbook the flight and you want to
Mm.
get it to a point where you say no to these quality people. And that way you're forced to have the deselection process, and like you were saying before, you're saying no to people, and then it becomes an application-based sales process where your prospective clients are applying for you to be their builder. All right.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with our client. We do not stop until they've overbooked the flight.
Yeah. Love that. And
Yeah.
it's definitely, yeah, something that we advocate as well. Once the kind of demand is increased to that point, like then you start sort of doing that sort of pre-selection application, and pre-qualification and things like that. So yeah, very powerful position to be in. Um,
Mm,
and it also kind of, falls back into that qualification before you quote. So you're
yeah.
only spending your valuable time on people that are, completely pre-qualified based on what you need so that you can go out there and you can have a really good shot at that rather than wasting your time with people that aren't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like you before you market, so day one with all our clients, we say you need a very well-defined sales process. So we set that up first. It's like a sluicing machine. And look, our guys, they don't even spend, it's not even about spending time on the quotes because they charge for quotes, or have a prelim agreement or a value management solution that they offer, and then they outsource it to someone who's better at quoting than them. So not only are they adding more value through using a quality estimator, and we,
Mm.
we know the best guys that we can point them to, but it's freeing up a whole lot of time. So they're adding value. People will pay money. Like every single builder I work with, day one, I'm like, I will get you to charge for quotes, and the people will not only pay you, but thank you. They will say thank you. And they pay. I had a guy just 2 days ago
Yeah.
go, hey, wow. They did. They actually thanked me when they paid. And then they pass that fee on to an estimator who does a better job at the numbers. They still check them, but they watertight. And then people are paying for certainty. This is over and above the not over and above, but as well as the layered niche and the specialty and the value they add with
Yeah.
the actual build itself. So it is important to have that sales process. You can't just get all the marketing, overbook the flight, and then not have a process for how you onboard them.
So would you agree though, Kurt, that there's a time and a place for kind of implementing that type of thing? Because um, we sometimes have conversations with builders that are probably they're not busy enough yet to really they kind of need to be to have engaging and having conversations with everyone that kind of comes to them because they're not overqualified yet.
Um, so sorry, what are you asking? Is there a time and a
So
place?
like a bit of a, a timing, like on a timeline of when you should start implementing like charging for quotes. Do you think that you should do that straight away, or do you think that, it should come at a point where, your demand is a little bit higher?
No, 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 no. So the charging for quotes is the value add. So most builders don't get it's again, this is like if I niche myself, I'm gonna cut out, I won't have enough work. So immediately they think if I
Mhm.
charge for quotes, people won't pay me. Or no, you're not charging for quotes. Okay, this is also important. If anyone hasn't been listening, please listen. Right, listen. Okay, and if you see me getting passionate about this, it's because like I need to shake people awake to what's actually going on because
Mhm.
conventional wisdom, people just default to conventional wisdom, which is my time is valuable. I should get paid for it. No, it's not why you're charging. Your time, no one gives a shit about you spending 40 hours on a quote. They do not care, right? People are narcissistic when they're about to part with money. The value you add and the reason you charge is that you are going to get the numbers right, right? Anyone listening knows there's been major price shock off the back of the pandemic, right? 53% increase in build costs in less than 3 years. Someone that had a million bucks 3 years ago, they need 1.5 now, right? Like you are offering a value add by getting the numbers right, okay? That is huge in terms of building credibility and trust. So that as a standalone is value proposition is huge. So you do it
Yeah.
from day one. Like we get guys, if you want to know how long it takes, 2 to 4 weeks, sales process set up and
Mhm.
people paying you for a quote and thanking you, right? And you don't have to, I've never taught sales to anyone in the 20 years I've been doing this, right?
Mhm.
Sales is 80% process. You just got to go through the process and send out education-based documents to help people understand the benefit to them. This is not about the benefit to you. Obviously, if you charge for quotes and outsource the quoting to someone else, your conversion rates go through the roof. You're freeing up thousands of hours. And this is the hardest thing for a human being to do. Stop thinking about yourself. Okay. This is not about you. You need to be offering a solution to these people. Like, do you know how many people right now in this country and across the Western world are getting designs done, right? And then having to abandon their project. As many as 70% of people that go to architects are having to abandon or they have to redesign, refinance, reapply through council. I got contacted by Channel 7. I was on Sunrise like 4 weeks ago because they sent me a report that showed, listen to this, Helena, I don't know if you've spoken about this. Build times in Australia, this is Australia, right?
Mhm.
Have increased by 50% in the last 12 months. So I was contacted by Channel 7. They sent me the report and they said, do you know why this is happening? So I
Mhm.
ran it through GenSpark, Grok 4, ChatGPT, and I was able to identify that although the build application rate across Australia like has dropped over the last 12 months from 79,000 to 72,000,
Mhm.
the reapplication rates through council have increased over 100% for a lot of councils. And that's because people are doing all this freaking design work and getting their finance done. And architects often help them go through council. And then they get price shock when the builder's quote comes in. They're having to redesign, reapply for finance, re-go
Mhm.
through council. It's clogging up that bureaucratic system. But some people are finding out during the build that they don't have enough money, right? And people will be nodding their heads. They know people where some builder, not because he's bad, he's going to lowball because he's stressed out and he's doing square meter rate quotes. He gets the numbers wrong, and then the number. I've had this happen, like on a build at a property here in Sydney, right? I got told it costs 250 grand, take 3 months, just pool and landscape. And I thought, fuck, that's expensive. It cost $500,000 and took 12 months. And I found out during the job, like this is happening every day of the week. So you need to understand that you can help people. There's a lot of pain out there, like a lot of pain. And it's not only clients, it's also the architects and designers because they get emotional backlash as well. So this is where, yeah, and we'll get to it in a sec. The value management solution
Mm,
is massive. Like we need to eliminate the tender process completely, and I fully believe it's going to happen.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to quickly share again, and we'll move on to stop guessing and start growing. So this is where we were going to talk a little bit about sort of leading into that. Yes, sort of the
Mm,
knowing of those numbers. And then I'll sort of talk a little bit about, data-driven marketing and the metrics kind of behind that as well. So
mhm.
um, yeah, what about what would you sort of say to people, to understand? Because obviously you don't want to throw money at marketing without actually knowing what your margins and capacity and everything are at right now.
Yeah, so this is where like obviously a lot of what I'm saying is counterintuitive, right? Like it's pretty much the exact opposite of what the 80% is doing, right? Like one of my mentors said to me once, like, if you just look at what most people do on the planet, do the exact opposite, right? You will be wildly successful. And I found that to be true, right? In
Yeah,
most cases. So what we do with our clients is like we have guys come to us that they don't have any marketing systems. They're standing start. Others do, whatever it is. The first thing I do is we apply the 80/20 rule, right? The Pareto principle. So 80% of your results come from 20% of the things you do. And results, again, a profit cash flow workflow. So we look at the fundamentals first within that 20%. And from a marketing perspective, that's website, social media, and then a brochure and capability statement that aligns with the content on the website as well. Those are the three cornerstones. We get those down, get them deciding on that niche,
yeah,
ideally layered. And then um, networking. The number one marketing strategy is networking with designers and architects. Like, think about it. Like, designers and architects, draftees, they are designing work that needs to get built. So, if you, and we have a process, I won't get into it now, but it's in my book. If you guys, again, anyone listening, use my book as a resource, I'll send it to you for free. I'll pay for the postage and handling, right? Um, there's so getting in touch with them, and then again, look, this is not you contacting them going, hey, have you got some work for me? This is you contacting them to with a very clear process for how you can help them and their business and how you can alleviate excruciating pain for them in their business, help their business be more efficient and more profitable. That will then also benefit you. That's the value management process. There's specific documents in my book. But
yeah,
so we do that with our clients so that they're profitable. Once they're profitable, where they're stacking cash and they've got money and they booked out, right?
yeah,
Here's the counterintuitive part. That's when we drop a shit fuck ton of money on their marketing. So most builders, again, you think, why, if you booked out for 2 years, would you then start marketing? That's so that you can make sure that your results are sustainable, right? Because
yeah,
your marketing is not only about picking the low-hanging fruit, right? You're not just trying to communicate with people that want to build now. There's people, again, because of the insatiable appetite for property and real estate and whatever, if you're putting this content out there, they're going to want to build in 2026 or 2027. They'll be
yeah,
consuming your content, and if it's education based, you can control the narrative, you can educate them, you can move them along the trust continuum, and you can build this big database so that when they do eventually want to build in 2027, they contact you already knowing, liking, and trusting you. So that's, and so coming back to how much do people spend, what's the marketing budget? I get asked that all the time. Like we make sure that you've got the cash and the money to spend. So we use low cost marketing strategies to get builders profitable, and then once the money's there, we just pour nitrous on
Yeah.
everything and just ramp it up and have, 20 different ways to generate one quality client, and then just keep that going all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the metrics as well that are valuable from a marketing perspective.
Hmm.
Ideally, you would have some kind of CRM system in place so you can be tracking where those
Hmm.
leads have come from. So source data is really important, and something that we sort of work very closely on, to not just understand, you know, like what the leads are, but like where have they come from? Like what keywords has someone typed in to kind of bring them into your pipeline? Because then once you see, opportunities moving through the pipeline and you can see the ones that start to convert, you can make data back decisions based on what's converting as to where you should be putting more of your marketing investment. So that's a really kind of, where data-driven marketing, like it's so important to use the data that you get through from, your marketing, to kind of really ramp up and amplify, what you're doing. So yeah, definitely worthwhile kind of making sure that that's all being tracked. I just feel like a lot of the time, um yeah, people don't actually know where the sort of where things are coming from, and you really want to understand that to kind of make better decisions down the line as well.
That's look, what you just mentioned there is so hugely important. So most builders, like if they, again, they worry about workflow. So if they ever, lose the job at the 11th hour, which is going to happen at some point, they've got some money, they panic and they just throw money at marketing. And
Yeah,
sadly, like a lot of, we live in a world of mediocrity, right? So you got all these marketing agencies that create sexy looking marketing but they don't test and measure. So the reason
yeah,
I'm speaking to you guys and I value what you do is that I could see, and this came out at the first conversation we had. I don't know if you remember. You
yeah,
guys
yeah,
have both, and this is it's almost like an oxymoron, or you guys are unicorns in that you creatives where you can create sexy looking, attractive marketing that relates to a particular niche, but you also have the data and the testing and measuring. And the testing and measuring is the crucial factor because that's how you crack the marketing code. Once you test and measure and you know what works and what doesn't, then you buying money at a discount. So if you spend 10 grand and it makes you 100,000 bucks, then your marketing becomes an investment. It's not an expense. Your accountant will look at it as an expense. It's not. It's an investment. But once you crack
yeah,
that code and you know what works and what doesn't, then that's it. You're off to the races. Like there's,
yeah. And
yeah.
it's funny, like a lot of the time I sort of everyone like, oh, what's the key? What's the magic ingredient? Like the magic ingredient is time and consistency, which are two things you can't pay for, So it's like if
Mm,
you're not approaching something consistently, and if you don't give it enough time, it's never going to yield as much. Like some of the clients that we've worked, the best ROI that we see, it can come like 12 months after you commence running ads because it takes
mm.
that time to test and measure and test and measure and test and measure.
Yeah. But you mentioned CRM and there's tools out there now that,
Mm,
that can tell you, very quickly what is and isn't working and where your best leads are coming from. And then you can, put you in a position where you can allocate funds to particular
yeah,
marketing channels. That, yeah, we had a builder who was, they engaged an agency where the testing was really good and they went from 5 leads to 25 leads a month. A lead for them was a site visit. That's how they defined a lead. So the
yeah,
lead had to go through a 6-step sales process to get to site. So they were really well qualified. But they ran, Google ads just with their online marketing. They had Facebook marketing that was working as well. But what they
yeah,
quickly discovered was that the Facebook marketing and the videos in particular were far outperforming the Google ads. So they still had SEO happening, but they shut down the Google ads and took the
yeah,
budget allocation and channeled it into the Facebook
yeah.
marketing. And I'm getting, I think, 74,000 views on one video at one stage. So
And I
being
think
able
if
to
you
test
don't
and
know
measure
where,
like that,
yeah, if you
yeah,
don't know where things are coming from, you can't make that decision.
yeah.
So then,
But Yeah,
Yeah.
and the agencies that don't test, so anyone listen, if you don't, if you have using the agency and they're not testing and measuring, and they're just saying, oh, we'll just keep doing things, and you, but you don't know where it's coming from, you're just spending
Yeah.
money. That is, that's not an intelligent way to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like even just with how we kind of set things up, it's we don't want to know, we want to know that it came from, say, Google Ads, but we also look at what keyword did that come from? What did that person type in to get to this point?
yeah, and you can see how all of this is going to work so much better, and the data you get will be so much more meaningful if you've got a niche.
Yeah,
Right?
100%.
That because then you're speaking to a particular, like you say, demographic client persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties us in nicely to the final part of the presentation, which was just have a quick talk about Pitch Perfect, who is a joint client of ours
Mm.
that we've been working with for a few months now. So just to kind of give a bit of an overview, the Glenn partnered with, I think was he partnered with yourself, didn't he? And then when you kind of got to the point where he was ready to start marketing, he partnered with us.
Mhm.
But he just had like limited visibility. He was still on the tools full time. So kind of with yourself, we developed a bit of a strategy to position him as like North Shore's go-to renovation specialist. So that was
Mhm.
kind of layered niching there. And he was targeting like time poor professionals and like young families that wanted sort of high quality, stress-free renovations.
Mhm.
So talk to us a little bit about because his challenge when he came to us for the marketing sense was that he didn't have a clear marketing message. He didn't have a predictable lead flow.
Mm.
He had the sales process that he'd established with yourself.
Mm.
But yeah, talk to us a little bit about when you first started working with Glenn.
Yeah, so I suppose for anyone listening, any niche is better than no niche, and renovations or extensions that is a niche. And you may think, well, there's everyone does renos in my area, but how many of them are actually marketing themselves as a renovation specialist? And if they go, well, there's two other guys doing it already, great.
Yeah,
Like, be the third guy. Then there's more than one dentist in town. Like there doesn't only have to be one. You can still be the North Shore's renovation extension specialist or Sydney's or Melbourne's or whatever it is, Brisbane. So yeah, like I said before, like when I started working with a specific builder, day one it was sales process because I knew he was going to need to feed leads through. You can't market and then not have a process that you take him through. So we
mm,
set that up, and then within that, I'll just touch on the value management process actually, if I could.
yeah,
The big opportunity, especially when it comes to like renovations and even custom homes, well, is that there's price shock. Price shock is bad. Anyone listening will know, it's horrendous, right? And often the builders, the person that faces the emotional backlash because people shoot the messenger. Like I've had a couple of calls recently where the builder was shaken because the client that when they heard the number, that it completely destroyed everything. They had just spent 100 grand with an architect. Now they find out they can't proceed. Like they're going to have
yeah,
to abandon the project, and it's their dream home. So they're very pissed off, and they think, well, what do you? This is BS. You sort of ripping me off. So the thing that we set up with this guy and other builders is for clients to, especially those that are early on. So there's different, obviously, clients that come to you to builders, at concept stage when they've got a sketch up early on in the pre-construction phase, and anywhere along that continuum to turning up with all their documentation done. So they offer a quick building estimate, a quick turnaround number, just to give the client an idea of where it's at, and
yeah,
then they offer, especially if it's early on, the client will either have price shock and fall off their chair and go away, but be grateful that they found that out early on, or they will find that the numbers just beyond what they want to spend, and then the bill goes, well, we've got a value management solution, which is just offering different build process material solutions to bring their budget in line with what they want to spend. And that becomes a standalone solution and product during the
yeah,
pre-construction phase, but also gets that client, in order for it to work, the client needs to engage the builder. And becomes a one builder tender process. So that's part of what we've been doing there. But obviously the marketing helps feed those people
Yeah.
into that process. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what we launched for them was actually, yeah, Google and Meta advertising,
Hmm.
um, and really kind of focusing in on the premium level of the service. And then we've obviously got that CRM integrated too to kind of implement that sales process and have more visibility over that. So he's like, yeah, currently tracking leads and the project value in real time, which is, he's really enjoyed. As far as like how he's going, we've been working with him for about 2.5 months. He's had 18 qualified leads. A qualified lead is, yeah, kind of like site visit. So
Hmm.
similar, it should be measured on, what is actually a lead for you. It's not just someone's phone number that doesn't pick up. It needs
Yeah.
to be like a qualified lead. All of those have turned into quotes, and I think he's just closing a couple of those right now. So, it is a renovation business. It does happen a little bit quickly than a home builder. The lead
Hmm.
time's less, obviously. But yeah, it doesn't take, it doesn't take too much really to make quite a significant impact on a business when it comes to marketing.
Absolutely. And that's, of all the niches out there, renovations would be the most staple. There's always a consistent flow of reno work.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like for most builders, if they get their margins right, they've got a good niche, they can make really good money, and keep it boutique. And that's how they mitigate risk against macroeconomic conditions. Like there's too many guys that are dependent on, interest rates coming down and, the
Mm.
economy. You want to create your own economy with marketing, and then you can sail through even a GFC scenario. They can just sail through if they,
Mhm.
they keep it small. We don't work with volume builders. This is just, again, optimizing for efficiency, value, margin, cash flow, workflow. Yeah. But
Yeah.
marketing's the holy grail, man. It really is. If once you crack the marketing code, that's it. You're off and away.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us nicely to question time. So,
Mm.
if you do want to get a copy of Kurt's book, you can just use this QR code here. If you are watching this on your phone, obviously you can't scan the QR code, but I will send a link out via email after this call, so don't worry.
Mhm.
And the QR code for our business is just if you just want to get in touch. In the email, I'll send through the link for the ChatGPT prompt that we talked about earlier. But yeah, so does anyone have any questions for us?
Just while we're waiting, I'll just say, so guys, just again, I will cover the postage and handling. I'll send you a paperback copy of the book. But I know that, like, I don't read books myself anymore. I just don't have time. So I listen to them. It's on Spotify and Apple Books if you want to grab a copy there to listen to, the
Nice.
audio version that is. And it'll be on Audible in the next couple of weeks. Just takes a bit longer to get up there.
Oh, I've got a credit I need to use on Audible, so
Yeah. Jump on. No,
um,
excellent.
so does anyone have any questions? Don't be shy. All good?
Looks like we covered it off really well. I might ask you, like, what's your onboarding process like? With a new client, when you have a new builder walk through the front door, how do
Yeah.
you sort of onboard?
Yeah, so we have like a pretty kind of tight process with that because obviously there's a lot that kind of goes into the setup, but we want to kind of keep it as quick and efficient as possible.
Mm,
So we do have a bit of a quite a comprehensive sales process, which involves a couple of calls to really get to know and make sure there's a good alignment between what is needing to be achieved and what we do. And then we would book into to commence onboarding. So our onboarding process takes about 3 weeks. And
mhm,
that starts with a strategy, what we all kind of propose based on, how we're going to target that niche, with what messaging, creative, offers strategy, how we're going to build scarcity around
mm,
that as well. And if that's all kind of approved, then we'll go away and build out all the campaigns, do all the technical
mm.
tracking, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Set up the CRM. So it's all kind of done for you. And then at that 3 week mark, we go live with everything. So we do like a training and go live meeting. And then, yeah, pretty
Mm,
much in the first couple of months is quite a frequent touch point to make sure everything's tracking along nicely and you're feeling comfortable with everything and ironing everything out. And then, yeah, generally people are sort of away to the races by the kind of 2 month mark.
I love it, man. And just like for any builders listening, like we've got a 7-figure club, right? Like guys that are in that space where they're netting $1 million. So it's a real thing. I had a young builder say, "Hey, nice clickbait," because there's $1 million this and that out there. There's a lot of clickbait, but it is a real thing. But the number one thing that they do to accelerate results is follow a process or a concept or principle of who, not how. So some of the
Yeah.
older guys listening may be thinking, "Oh shit, I heard this guy talking about Instagram and video content. I just couldn't be asked doing that, right?" You don't need to. Instead of asking yourself, how do I do it? How do I figure out how to do ads on Insta or Google? Find someone who has done it already. And that's you guys, right? The fact that you've worked with other builders, if a builder comes to you in a different location, and wants to market, in a renovation niche, you've already got, IP collateral results from other builders in other locations or similar locations, and you've got metrics. So your starting point is way ahead of some marketing agency that's working for cafes and restaurants and retail stores, and then they're going to use the builder as a guinea pig and go, oh,
Yeah.
and I've had it happen where one of my builders was like, hey, I want to, I'm thinking of marketing, to this niche, and the marketing agency was like, yes, great idea, and then, 30 or 40 grand later, they hadn't actually assessed whether the market was even there. They had no idea. They were
Yeah.
just ready to invoice and take money and start running, forward blindly, just draining this guy's bank account without even assessing, what's going on. But this is why working with a specialist, in the same way we just described it, for how builders can get market penetration, they need to work with specialists like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did talk about that research that you did on ChatGPT earlier about the heritage homes, which I love that. So I'll have to, add that into our process as well. We always research like search volume. So we'll check that there's actually enough volume there to kind of ensure that, it's worth investing in that. People, because we can see from the data how many search results there are in certain areas at certain times. So
Mm,
it's always definitely something that if you are going to engage an agency, make sure that they're sort of doing that as well,
mm.
in your space and in your niche. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Last word on that. I'd say, if you're going to engage an agency, obviously I'd point to you guys, but ask for results. Just how, yeah,
Yeah.
what specific results have you achieved with builders like ourselves? And,
Yeah,
and if they
that's
can't show you any, then just know you're going to be a guinea pig, and it's a lengthy, expensive process.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of wraps it all up nicely, I suppose. So as I mentioned before, I'll email everything out after this meeting, including the link to your wonderful book. And thank you everyone for attending today, and thanks to everyone that's watching this at a later date. If you ever have any questions about anything, yeah, feel free to reach out to either Kurt or myself directly. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, Kurt.
Likewise, Helena, thank you so much for having me. Yes, please. Anyone, any questions? I'm happy to help. I love helping take people through a positive transformation. So make sure you get in touch. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.